It's Paul's Security Weekly, minus Paul. Much like Jimmy Kimmel, they're putting me back on the air after that last time and the tragic incident with the whippets and the nudity and the rogue drone cam. But, you know, we're here and they let me back. I can't believe they let me back, but I was looking at a new job this week and they're probably watching, so that's probably not going to happen. But, you know, regardless, we got Broadcom, LastPass, Brickstone, SEO Poisoning, QR codes, H1B visas, distributed computing, and more on Paul's Security Weekly, sans Paul, of course. Paul isn't here, man.
This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where exploits run wild, packets aren't the only things getting sniffed, and the cocktails flow steady. It's Paul's Security Weekly. Ransomware, supply chain attacks, 0 days. Cyber threats don't wait, and neither should your defenses. With ThreatLocker, you're not just reacting to threats, you're stopping them before they start. ThreatLocker's zero trust endpoint protection locks down your environment with pinpoint control over what's allowed to run and what's not. No guesswork, no blind spots, just proactive, built-for-now security that keeps your business moving. Want to see how a true default deny strategy works? Head over to securityweekly.com/ThreatLocker and take the first step towards shutting the door on threats before they even knock.
All right, I'm Doug White, and it's Paul's Security Weekly, the show where we throw caution to the wind, toss in a few rogue hosts, some ether, a couple of hunting ferrets, these playing cards, a chair, and we just see what happens. Be sure and join us for InfoSec World 2025. It's the 27th through the 29th of October in sunny Lake Buena Vista, Florida, at Disney's Coronado Springs Resort. Workshops run the 25th and the 26th of October, and also the 29th and 30th of October, so you can be there for a while. The premier cybersecurity conference is here. Save 25% with code ISW25-SW at securityweekly.com/ISW2025. We hope to see you there, and you can do Halloween hijinks at Disney, that kind of stuff, you know. Well, tonight, joining me on the main stage is the estimable Lee Neely. Hi, Lee.
Hey, it's good to be here. Good to see you again, Doug. Glad to see you out of purgatory.
Also joining us tonight is the unflappable Sam Bone.
Good evening. You know, this is the Paul's podcast without Paul. Reminds me of Wise Blood, where a guy started the Church of Christ without Christ.
That'd be me. And we also have in the center square, Josh Marpet. Hi, Josh.
Hey, how you doing, Doug? Nice to see you on other than a Tuesday.
Exactly. And of course, the cringeworthy Bill Swearingen is here as well. It's a regular rogues gallery on this show. Not so much
for having me, Paul. I really appreciate the invite, Paul. Mutiny. Let's do this.
Well, you know, other than Lee, the rest of us have been banned from late night television, but you know, that's just sort of the way it goes. But we do have a lot of news tonight.
To be more.
We have a lot of news tonight, but not a lot of time, so I guess we'll just go for it. The first story I put up was about LastPass, and it really wasn't about LastPass, but LastPass issued a warning to Mac users about a campaign that's targeting them with fake software that impersonates popular products, and it's delivered through fraudulent GitHub repositories. Imagine that. The malicious
Holy
software.
Cow.
Yeah. I mean, basically what this thing did was it's delivering an info stealer, and it's it scares me, but this is a malware as a service tool called Atomic or Amos, and it basically allows impersonation of LastPass, 1Password, Dropbox, Confluence, Robinhood, Fidelity, Notion, Gemini, Audacity, Adobe, After Effects, Thunderbird, and SentinelOne at the click of a button. And all the tools are on GitHub with the official product names, with things like LastPass Premium on MacBook --GitHub. And then you click the download button. It takes you to a site where they ask you to paste a command into your terminal to perform the install, which I'm like, you know, people go for that, but it's terrifying to me. So I guess what I wanted to talk about from this story was like what do we do about this? What should security policy look like for users? Because in the early internet days, I used to block browsers for companies. We built boxes to literally block browsers, Active Directory blocks, you name it. And we always are asking the question: should users be able to open a terminal? Should they be able to run a PowerShell script or Bash script? I don't know. What should they be able to do? Any thoughts?
Yeah, this is a tough one. So there's. I think that security always has to weigh that pendulum of how do I enable my users to be successful and also protect my users from being stupid, right? And by the way, I know that we're not supposed to call our users stupid. We all do it. We all do it.
We're not.
Right.
Oh,
so I fit in that same group, but come on, man, if you're installing LastPass off of a bash command that you run off of GitHub, somebody should stop you, right?
Are you trying to say stupid is as stupid does?
Maybe.
I didn't even know we weren't supposed to call users stupid. I've been calling them that since the 80s.
No, we're supposed we're supposed to treat everyone nicely now or something. I'm not.
Well,
sure.
we put
Ever
a
since
lot
they
of
took away my clue by 4.
Well, we put a lot of
give
policies
him
in place.
Ben hit him with the 2x4.
True. We put a lot of policies in place and blocked, at schools, you'll see them blocking literally everything. You can't install, you can't open a window, you can't do anything at all. And like you said, that's a delicate balance between now my users can't do their jobs. And I originally, years ago, when the internet was fresh and new, and it was only about 60% porn, we were building Dan's Guardian boxes, like little pizza box Dan Guardians, and putting them up. And these companies were calling me and saying, "Can you come in and just walk us through this interweb thing?" And the C-suite people were like, "We think this is just going to be a giant time suck and people won't do anything." So my Dan's Guardian, when you tried to go to a website, it would pop up a screen that said, "You have tried to go to an internet site. Please provide an explanation for why you are going to this site so that we can review it." And it was absolute awesome.
Yeah, that wouldn't fly today, though. That wouldn't fly in today's world.
No, it wouldn't.
Right?
I completely agree. It was just fun watching people try to explain why they tried to go to Playboy.com.
Yeah,
and how that was related to their job.
Mubix had a great idea about this a few years ago, and it may be a little outdated now, but he said every morning somebody goes to a website. The first thing that happens, the first person that goes to that website, a box pops up and says, "Is this a legit website? And would you like to open it up to the rest of the company?"
Oh, geez.
And if it turns out not to be a legit website, who gets in trouble? And it's not a bad idea because it puts the onus of the recognition, at least some form of it, on the user. And they'll be more careful. They'll think. They'll use those critical faculties.
Right. Users thinking.
Well,
interesting concept.
I'm not going to let this one go. I think Microsoft and GitHub have some responsibility here too. So we have done, and I guarantee you, everyone here on this panel, maybe not Sam, but I personally have copied a command off of GitHub that ran it straight to Bash, right? And you're like, I don't know. Am I supposed to do this? I don't know. But we the cool, the new cool hip, whatever that new project is. A lot of times you run a command to install it, to run it, whatever. And that's the cool way of doing it. GitHub has taught us to do that. Quite honestly, if we start talking about a piece of malware that's known, right, that we know about, an info stealer that we know about, we know it's targeting, and so Doug, you went through whatever that was, 9 or 10 different examples, but 10 is not a million, right? GitHub should be able to detect and flag and remove these repositories.
Okay, I'm going to point out, have you ever heard of the obfuscated C contest?
Well, I understand. Okay, have you also do you think that that's what they're doing, or are they just a piece of junk?
Most of them are blatantly hi, curl or wget, malicious website .cn or whatever, and
yeah.
And it's no big deal. I get it, and those are easy to spot. But there are the higher levels of that, which is obfuscated code, obfuscated bash scripts that recursively call more and more, shell scripts and shell code that's going to assemble the name of the website.
For sure.
Whatever, you get the idea. It's possible to do.
But
And so now you've got,
as as defenders, like I would rather chase after that 1%, like what you're describing there, Josh, and let Microsoft block the 99% at GitHub, and like if they can generate IOCs that can nail that stuff very quickly. I don't know anything about atomic malware, but I imagine it's probably slam dunk city, right?
Well, let me throw something at you. Just one more thing, because I agree with you, but I think there's a scaling issue here. Do you know how much YouTube videos get added every second?
It's like
7 hours of video gets added to YouTube
every second, right?
Right. But guys, I don't think watching a YouTube video itself is not likely to get you infected. And the thing I can't quite tell here is whether it actually does an installation or not. Because if it doesn't install, my corporate consulting gigs all would prevent that. You can't install anything directly that doesn't come from the company-approved app store. But I'm not sure it doesn't install, because you can do info stealing without installing anything, just from a command line.
This is true.
Yeah, I mean, this one didn't require you to install a GitHub. They were just using it as a base, a launching platform. Yeah. And so you search for, I don't know, LastPass Premium for Mac. It takes you to this GitHub site. And then, boom, you click a download button and it takes you to another site that has this script, and they try to get you to paste this in. Right. Well, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of letting most users run scripts, period. I mean, I don't think a marketing department person can convince me that they ought to be able to run scripts on the command line. And if they could, maybe we'll talk, and they probably have the skills to.
The problem there, Doug, is like the marketing person, like, if that person were to be compromised with this attack, is it unfortunate? Yep, it is. But it's worse when the person that, it's the senior developer or the architect.
No, it is.
And those are the ones that we often say, like, yeah, man, I get it. I understand why, you're after wanting to run scripts.
And I think we all do that. We all get comfortable with just jumping on GitHub and finding what we need and using it, just like we do PyPy or any of the other sites. Sure. Mm-hmm. And it is the devs and admins that are actually the bigger threat, because probably their system's the one that's going to run it.
But if you had two-factor authentication, how much harm would an info stealer actually do you?
True. Unless it can get all the tokens or something off the system.
Yeah, so two-factor authentication. So what I've seen, Sam, and I've worked a couple cases where an info stealer happened, and an info stealer was deployed to an enterprise, and you end up having these. You have employees that, even though our policy says that first of all, you shouldn't have cryptocurrency wallets on your work computer. They have them. You know what I mean? And then their crypto gets stolen, and it's just this disaster.
You could have true capture on your crypto wallet, couldn't you?
I think the way that info stealers work is they use the wallet to transfer the funds. I don't,
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's actually one of my stories. I mean, why do you have hot storage of crypto? This is why God made ledger wallets.
I mean, agreed.
Your crypto should not be living on your computer where you're also installing random crap. This is not.
Well, no, don't try to tell people they can't keep all their Bitcoins on a hot wallet on a public computer at the library.
That's right.
So that was your story number 3, Sam. So if we're going to jump, so a verified Steam game steals streamers' cancer treatment donations.
Yeah, just this case, he had his money in a hot wallet. It was the money he really needed. And then he installed a random Steam game that stole it all. And I'm like, dude, you need to not put your stuff in a hot wallet.
I mean, a lot of people don't know what that even means. I've talked to some groups, and I said, I was actually doing a thing with a group and talking to them about wallets and cold wallets and all this kind of stuff. And people were like, wait, what are you talking about? I don't even know what you mean. I just have a wallet. I put my Bitcoin in it. And I'm like, yeah, you need to transfer that Bitcoin out of there and into an offline nice isolated place, and only put enough money in your wallet on your hot wallet to buy what you want to buy, and don't even leave it there long, because somebody will come looking for it. It's just like carrying everything you own in, you know, bags with dollar signs on them and walking around the Port Authority in 1981 and going, "Hi everybody, I'm here."
Or 2025, let's be honest.
Or 2025.
Yeah.
I one time in I think it was in Hong Kong, I saw this guy. He came out of the airport and he's got this huge handful of cash, and I mean, he's got this huge wad of like cash, and he's like trying to organize it, I guess, to get a cab. And this guy just swoops over on a little moto and just boop, and he's gone. And the guy's like,
that moped guy's like, you would never believe what happened to me. Like, you know what I mean?
Let's get a pizza.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, that's crazy stuff.
Well, so Joe Grand was, in Kansas City not too long ago, and we were talking about cold wallets. So he has a company that is very, very successful in breaking into lost cryptocurrency accounts. And so while we're here, I just, so I want to make sure that all of our listeners know, I am also into cryptocurrency, and I'm not, I have hardware wallets. Make sure that you are updating that firmware, right? So a lot of times that the way that Joe is able to get into those devices are because they're running older firmware that allows him to find and exploit them to get into the wallet. So just make sure that you're always upgrading that firmware on this device as well.
Just remember, if you send your crypto to Bill, he will double it and send it back.
That's true. Right. That is true. I will be tweeting out my crypto wallet.
Maybe even triple it. I mean, it's like, if you're one of the first 500 to donate, it's going to be tripled. So just send those cards and letters in. I think I'm going to skip to my story 5 and relate it to Lee's story number 3. I need to run a correlation matrix for all this, but this was a story about the European airports getting attacked this weekend, and I don't think there was anything too overly dramatic here, but this and this story about Stellantis both underscore a very important thing that I think all of you should be thinking about, which is third-party data flows. And I have had numerous clients that I mentioned things like, do you know where your data goes and who has access to it? And they're like, yes, we do. And I'm like, are you sure you don't have any third parties? And, and this came from years ago doing consulting in Germany, where we were talking to these companies about getting on U.S. military bases. And they didn't really seem to understand some of this, because we were seeing a threat just from the individuals. But today you've got all this stuff plugged into your networks. And this Collins Aerospace on the airport, who are the people that make the software that lets you check in, create bag tags, get scanned onto the plane, boarding scans, all that stuff that is going on. And, and your story was about Stellantis. You want to mention that, Lee, the Stellantis story?
So that was another one where we had, third-party data issues, where actually this was a third-party application that all the airports were using, that if I remember right, it was their, what was it doing? I'm trying to remember what it was doing, but basically they were all reliant on this. No, this was not the airport one. Excuse me, I'm off. This is the car company. This is
this is story number 3.
Yeah, and the in 130 companies, and now they've got data that's not, they've gotten compromised. The problem is I've been doing a bunch of stuff today, and my brain is fried.
Well, so I think
I spent a half an hour or 45 minutes on the line with a guy trying to get the Bluetooth on my window shades working and failed.
I'm sorry, did you say the Bluetooth on your window shades?
Yes.
You don't?
Why?
Oh,
why is there a Bluetooth on your?
Do I need to tell?
Apparently, you can't.
Do you know the difference between a technologist and a technology enthusiast?
What?
A technology enthusiast has everything voice activated, shiny screens on every wall. Everything is automated, and it's like smart locks and smart TV and smart toilet, smart this and smart that. And the technologist has a printer and a gun to shoot it if it starts talking.
Well, I mean, the real question, Lee, is why isn't there AI on your blinds?
That's right.
I hope there isn't.
I'm gonna use 6 low pan to control my blinds and not get involved in that crappy Bluetooth.
They didn't
But
have
yeah.
a simple procedure for putting it back in Bluetooth pairing mode. One paired and one didn't. And it's like, really?
Okay. Let's talk third party, because this is a
Yeah.
huge.
This is third party.
Look at Josh bringing it back.
My
So-
Way
intelligent
to go,
toilet's out to
Josh.
get me.
Third party is monstrous, because every time you have a third party partner, you have a pathway, you have a superhighway into your data, into your systems, into your processes. All right. We have gone so
Right.
far down the road of third party. It's not just I take my nice, neat data packet and hand it off to Bill. It's Bill has an API that goes directly into
That's
my
right.
server and my data sources. And he's an integral part of my processes. And yet we believe, for some godforsaken reason, that
That I
am a
have any
self-contained-
security policies whatsoever, right? You know, and
And we use questionnaires, which Bill lies on all the time, to determine.
yeah, the
whether
sales
Bill is
guy
actually
fills out the
secure.
questionnaire. Are you kidding? You know, like, yeah,
Like I make the joke that we send out questionnaires for third-party risk management. They lie, and we get them back, and everybody
Of course
goes,
they
oh, "That's true." So,
I've seen those. I've seen those surveys before. You know. Well, I'm going to say Augustus de Morgan at that point too, because Josh is used to be
course.
saying Augustus de Morgan all the time, because big fleas have little fleas upon their backs to bite them, and you know it literally is. It's not even just that third party data flow. It's my third party has a third party has a third party has a third party, and all those are linked together.
that is the
And-
nth party problem, the NTH party problem, because
And-
there's fourth and fifth and sixth parties.
And there's the other problem is, who does your third party notify when they have a breach? I was in one conversation where they said, oh, we do notification. We'll tell US CERT. You can pick it up from there, right?
wow.
That was for real. It really happened.
They actually
And I was
notify.
like, yeah, there, Josh, you got the motion, right? Face palm.
Yeah.
You know, well,
And-
at the time I worked for an M&A subcontract part of a government agency. They just figured we were hooked in with US CERT. Yes, we do get notifications from US CERT, but we really want to direct.
Yeah.
And so, but, sussing that out before you have an incident is generally better. How about when you're setting up the contract and deciding if it's a go, no go? But think about have you seen all the issues with the Salesforce compromise, where people's Salesforce incidents aren't strong and aren't secure enough? And Salesforce provided extra guidance that says to prevent this attack, do these things, and the attacks continue. Successful attacks.
Successful attacks. That's the important qualification.
Because if it's in the cloud, it's secure, right?
So here's the problem. We have external views of our third parties. Its site, security scorecard, all those are external views of our third parties. Why do we not have an internal view? Because nobody wants to let them in. If you're my supplier and I'm your customer, you damn well better let me see how secure you are, at least to a general nature, on a regular basis. I'd love a real-time dashboard.
Yeah. So, and in fact, that's where when I used to do the FedRAMP stuff, that's a lot closer to inside, because first, it's invited by the provider. In other words, Salesforce's FedRAMP certification was done because Salesforce asked for it. It wasn't an external party knocking on the door, let me in, right? So they invited it, they wanted it, and so therefore they got these guys inside the kimono. And there's a lot of non-disclosure in that space. You're not going to find certain things unless you've all signed the same disclosure, smoked the appropriate substances, and
Well, that's fine.
and this is fine. That works. I didn't say it's perfect. It's way better, though, than what a lot of the rest of us get when it comes to looking at a third-party service. It's like there's too much opacity. You can't tell what's going on. And yeah, what was used to be the asked to audit the cloud service. Remember when that was the guidance?
Oh God.
Yes. How'd that work out for you, Josh? You're a big guy. You could probably bluff your way in.
And I mean, one of my concerns is that would these third parties even report? I mean, I understand that FedRAMP has a lot of restrictions, but I mean, if you have, we were running into these guys. This was, again, very analog, but they were wanting to drive trucks onto an airbase at like Baden-Baden or somewhere. And they didn't even want to tell us that their drivers didn't have driver's licenses and that they all shared one single German driver's license amongst 52 people who just grabbed one off the rack when they came in the morning and drive over and drop off the sausages. And I really don't think that company is going to report, because they're going to be, they're going to be scared when they, if they call over and they say, oh, guess what? We've got a breach. they're going to be terminated. They're going to lose a contract and they're not going to come through. So it's very scary when you have these third parties and they don't necessarily report breaches at all because they're worried.
Yeah.
Third-party risk management is, and I'm sorry, Bill, I'll give you 1 second. Third-party risk management is a supply chain risk management, whatever you want to call it, is one of the biggest problems in computing right now because they have so much access and we have no idea how secure they are. Bill, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, actually, Josh, I was going to say that the very same thing. Like this is, if you don't know where your data is and who has access to your data, you can't secure it, quite honestly.
Beautiful.
And you don't even, it's not even so much, it maybe it's data, but it's also other things. It's just what level of access do those people have? Do they have LDAP'd in data that's being mapped into your system, or your system's mapping data into them, or they have access and logins and all kinds of stuff that I've seen. And all of those things can be well, of course they do. I mean, and sometimes it's legit, and sometimes it's stuff that was put in when they were trying to set everything up. And sometimes it's just overlooked for years and years and years. And we audited and went, what is this account? And they're like, oh yeah, they used to stock the vending machines, and we gave them logins so they could, they could use our Wi-Fi. And I'm like, well, they're using these logins right now and they don't seem to have contracts anymore. And, all that stuff just gets uglier and uglier. And then, the sausage truck is compromised by the fuel service dump where they buy gas for the sausage trucks. And the next thing you know, you're hacked by sausage.
And the killer is the basics that keep coming out from, insert your acronym here. They keep coming back to make sure you've limited the restrictions, you've implemented security best practices, you've got monitoring, you got MFA. It's the basics, and people are still getting that wrong. I realize MFA is intrusive, but
when done right, it's barely intrusive. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and quite honestly,
I had to look at my phone for 8.5 seconds to get logged in there.
What was me?
I'm never getting that back.
At this point, it should feel normal for that to be in your flow, right?
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I mean, come on. Well, I remember when I first started doing RSA stuff in like '99, it was fairly intrusive.
It was, right?
But
because
they had the advantage of it could be entered as a password.
15 of the same key that look exactly the same, right? Okay, which one? Oh my God, I don't know.
I used to mark what they were with a Sharpie on the back so I knew which one was which.
I had a label printer just for that.
Yeah. So I could never, I had label makers at the office, but I could never find one when I needed a market. I could always somehow found a Sharpie. So guess what? I'm lazy, but, or maybe I'm just prudent, because otherwise I'll forget which one the hell is which. Then there's that brief interview when one guy sends you a newer one, so it's a different model. And you think, I don't have to label it.
Lee, you were that guy with 20 of them hanging on his keychain that he had.
Actually, I wasn't. I had coworkers. At most I had
look
was
how awesome
4.
I am. I have all this access.
Yeah, look at all the
Now, mind you, I had like 8 or 9 YubiKeys.
Okay, I still have a YubiKey.
It's like the modern equivalent of the school janitor with that big key ring.
It's
like, ooh, there's the guy with all the YubiKeys. We know who we're going to hit in the head with something.
Different form factors.
Just have one. Yeah. Okay, come on.
Oh,
I don't have any anymore.
Tired.
You're no longer securely. I'm going to jump. This is another thing I want to talk about. We could talk about that for the rest of the time, I think, but I want to jump to Bill's story, because I was just flipping through, and Bill has a story that's called "Want to Piss Off Your IT Department? Are Your Links Not Malicious?" Looking up, and it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek story, but here's my thing. The other day, I realized that somebody from an institution that was contacting me was sending me stuff that looked like a scam, felt like a scam. Every aspect of this was like a scam, only it was legit. And I guess my bitch is that, folks, try to think about your employees. And when everything you do with them looks like a scam, they're more inclined to click on scams and fall for scams, because you're making them do scams. When people leave you voicemails going, "Hi, this is Cindy from HR. I'm going to need you to call and leave us a voicemail with all of your information, including your mother's maiden name and a credit card number, as well as your bank account routing number. Could you just please call us back and leave that on the voicemail? No one answers the phone phone. I'm like, are you kidding me? And then I have to go through 15 hoops to get to different people to find out if Cindy's a real person at that company in HR. And then I started trying to track her. I got to where I called the guard shack and went, is there somebody named Cindy who works there? And the guy was like, well, who is this? Is this a scam? And I'm like, no, it's not a scam. I'm trying to find. They call me first.
Doug, let it go, man. Let it go. Like, get it out. Get it out. Like, my goodness, you're mad
drives
about
me crazy.
Real
Your article's about a link that makes all your links look like malicious links.
Yeah, so I found those.
I love it.
Instead of a link shortener, right? So we're all accustomed to shortening our link. Here's one where you put in a legitimate site and it makes it look so malicious. Like
it's awesome. It's awesome.
It could be like crypto.
Does it just put .ru on the end of every single link?
No. It's I tried one just.
I put in bsidesdelaware.com, which is my conference coming up in November, and said crypto, and it came up with cheap-bitcoin.online, network injector, exploit snatcher, backdoorscript.exe.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to use this. I'll start sending this stuff to my students, and sending them links that are called like exam pop-up midterm tomorrow, and the link is like,
right.
Oh my God.
Yeah, something like
I tried the same thing with the Stellantis article on the breach, and it came up with the cheap bitcoin.online / firewall snatcher / DDoS / paywall _loader.js. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
This is freaking awesome.
It's going to turn into a denial of service on everybody's URL scanners. Just everything is blocked.
Lee, drop down the how long should the URL be? Because it's got small, normal, large, very large, and just fuck me up, fam. It's
Oh. So you can select the type. I did surprise me the first time, but I said, how about a long time? So now it came up with a cam-xxx.live /networkworm /
Oh my God, hilarious.
Send that to Shell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God. Oh,
but I will say to all of you out there, think about your process and your procedures before you go to your employees with crazy stuff that's asking them to do all kinds of things that you just spent $100,000 training them not to do. And then turn around and say, you need to go to HR and paste all your information in here. And HR is going to give you a script to run on your command line. That will update your image and block everything.
Your image will change.
Block everything and burn it with fire. I mean, that's the only solution to all this stuff as of today.
Cheap stocks.
Okay, so on this same light, I've got another one. This one was about SEO poisoning, and I'm like, wait, isn't that just marketing? I mean, if I want to drive my show up to #1 with a bullet, I mean. I'd love to get 1 million views a week and be at the top of the list. Come on. I'm like, but I mean, this story was essentially about these people targeting, East and Southeast Asians using this information services module that's called bad IIS. And it was just accepting and altering web traffic. But the primary essence of it, I'm going to do the whole story. The primary essences of it was it had to be an SEO poisoning attack. You got to get that link to the top of the list to get them to click it.
What is bad IIS? Bad IIS. I don't know what that is.
It's an exploit, and basically what it does is it compromises they had compromised legitimate servers and turned them into reverse proxy. And so the bad IIS was an exploit that I guess let them get into IIS servers, I presume. That was my reading of it.
Yeah.
And they basically then set up these legitimate servers to reverse proxy, pull in content from other servers so that they look like legitimate servers, but they basically just then are flow-throughs. They're proxies, so they can capture everything that's going through that site. And then they used this bad IIS approach that they called it, and they pushed all their search results and drive traffic to all their sites. So they get everything to the top of the list. I mean, I don't know. I mean, nobody clicks on the 5th article about burning rashes when you can just read the first one, right? I mean, does anybody ever scroll to the second page?
No, never. I don't know if I ever have. I think the only time I've ever gone to the second page is like when I'm actively doing something bad, like, I'm Google dorking, right? Or something,
Yeah, then you go pretty far down the list, but
how many people don't go past the sponsored results at the top?
True.
Right.
I mean, that's a modern
true.
thing. And of course, I was wondering how hard is it to get something on that list? Like,
How many people
if
don't
you're
go past
serious.
AI?
I was reading something the other day where somebody was doing that. That's the one. It's actually part of. It's tied to the IC3 impersonation, where there were fake search results for the FBI site.
Oh shit!
And the FBI's advice was telling people to type in, whatever it is, www.ic3.gov. How many people actually type URLs besides us?
No, I'm guilty. I don't.
I try to scroll past the ones that say sponsored because I know that's advertising, but I don't know how many people do that, especially on the small form factor.
Lee, you're assuming people use Google anymore. They just hit the AI overview and whatever it's called, they click.
And it's you get an AI overview in DuckDuckGo.
Yeah, I mean,
Google,
I don't think many
Bing,
people,
all of them.
I don't think many people retype URLs when they're like, that long anyway, and they just click the links and don't really pay attention to it. And people inherently trust search results.
Yeah, which is interesting.
It's dangerous, but they do. I mean, you see people, they just automatically click search results. They don't even think about it.
Yeah, and well, that's where hopefully, for a company, if you've got the DNS black holing, I don't know what the politically correct name for that is. That's then you could have malicious sites automatically filtered out.
It's a person hole
for the average person.
Well, and I've had clients where we were interviewing like employees, and they said, "Oh, we don't protect us from all that stuff." They did tick it off on the little survey form that said that we use URL filtering. And then we said, so your employees said to use your URL filtering. Where's the URL filter? And they were like, oh, well, that just means we encourage people to look at the URL before that they click it. And I'm like, oh
I'm having a Josh moment.
Yeah. So people
look at the URL before you click it. That's like security, isn't it?
Well, I have another one too that's in this same ilk of QR codes. So, this was kind of interesting though, because it's not what you think, but I mean, it made me rant immediately. So I was reading these stories, and the minute I see QR codes, I go, oh my God, there's a sticker on the ski pole that says free drink, scan here. And, people are like, oh my God, look, a free drink. And they're already, they've already clicked 9 things and have given up all their information because they heard there was a free drink. But I mean, I don't like them. I was in a restaurant. What?
Hacking is so easy.
Yeah, especially when drinking's involved. But I was in a restaurant the other day, and we went in, and there's a sticker on the table that's got another sticker stuck on top of it, and another sticker stuck on top of that, and it says, check out our menu. And I'm like, okay. And I had to call them over, and I'm like, is this real? And she's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, which sticker should we use? And she's like, oh, I think they just cover up the old ones. And I'm like, how do you know I didn't put that down? Why don't you check it out? And she's like, can I just bring you a paper menu and then I'll spit in all your food? And I was like, well, that's what I was going for. I like it when you spit in my food. I'm like, yeah, okay. But yeah, I mean, I hate
mean when you won't scan the QR code for the menu. It's like, but I want to read the menu. I don't want a mobile experience. I want to put the mobile away while I'm
eating. You guys.
I just don't want an info stealer that then, while I'm looking at grilled cheese sandwiches for $99.99, it's like taking everything.
Your menu choices into the info stealer in the back, so don't worry about it.
I got to carry a burner phone just for these things. I'm going to have to just start carrying a throwaway phone to scan QR codes when you go into a bar, and they're like, please scan here to get, service. And you're like, I don't want to scan that. And they're like, well, there's no other way to get in.
Yes, indeed, folks. On Paul's Security Weekly, Doug channels Rodney Dangerfield.
So this article,
he's not getting no respect either.
Is saying that a malicious NPM package hides payload in a QR code, right? So,
well, yeah, the story goes on. So it's not actually about malicious QR codes necessarily. It is basically them hiding malware in a QR code somehow. It was called steganography. It was what they started talking about. And, steganography used to be all sexified because, the idea that you could use unused bits in a JPEG was pretty cool. And a lot of students wanted to see that. And we were teaching forensics. That was like, people are like, could we see this? So they said this was not kishing or chishing or however you pronounce that, like QISHING, which is what they call a QR code phishing attack. But this was hiding a link to a fake site in a QR code, which is kind of what I'm more talking about as well. Yeah, but then they get you to download it.
I don't quite understand
what
the attack path is here. I'm reading this article. I don't quite understand, so if I'm a user and I'm using a mobile device and I'm scanning a QR code that has a hidden URL or whatever, how does that, I'm not launching NPM. I'm not installing a library. I'm not quite sure how this understands, but it says that FezBox claimed to be a JavaScript TypeScript utility library that had some legitimate functions, but it also included malware that was an info stealer, just like what you were saying. Used to extract username and passwords from browser cookies and exfiltrate them to an external domain.
So the question is, how did I understand the technique it's using, but how is that we come up with a QR code that the user has to scan, right? So we got the capability.
Well, they don't scan it. I think it's literally the QR code is downloaded as a file onto your system, and because it's a QR code, they can't see the link embedded in it, and I guess they're just hoping that you'll.
Yeah, right. So it's an obfuscation
you happen
from
to look
the user
at that file and go there,
or from potentially some sort of detection type software, right? So if I was looking for if I was looking through material on a device, so artifacts on a device, whether that be image files or text files or whatever, looking for malicious domains, this would go completely undetected because it was a QR code.
Right.
And then
when you put the NPM, when you install this NPM, it's not that you scan the QR code. It's that the link is hidden in the QR code so that their malware can use the link.
It's an obfuscation technique.
Yes, it is, exactly. It's an obfuscation technique. And it really isn't what I was ranting about, but it's also same kind of thing.
Still. What they're doing to obfuscate their link is actually pretty neat.
Yeah, I agree.
That makes perfect sense. And that's they were clever to come up with that.
They did go on and say that the malware itself was pretty lame and that it was only trying to grab old-fashioned cookies out of document.cookies.
They went to all that trouble to hide stealing document.cookies.
Wow, you burned your cool technique on this. Really?
I'm still confused, though. Where is the QR code used? When I download
that's where I was stuck.
A QR code.
So
okay, we should do something. Let's look at. Have you got a good story, Sam? That's
Sam.
No, I have no good stories.
I think we should talk about this cache of devices capable of crashing cellular network found near the U.S.
Oh, that thing.
This one is causing all the drama on the internet right now, right?
It was just because they had cool pictures.
Did you scan the QR codes in them?
Well, so I don't know if you heard this or Sam, if you want to kick off, but the Secret Service is stating that look at how good of a job we've done. We broke up a very huge national security threat where they discovered, and if you haven't seen the pictures yet, they're wild.
It's a good picture.
I don't know how many phones or SIMs or whatever.
A lot of SIM cards.
But they were, that the Secret Service was telling the news that they found this as a national threat. Well, I also have a story where Robert Graham debunks all of this. So it's my story number one. And, Robert Graham is a very well-known, very thoughtful researcher. He's contributed a ton to the security community, and he's saying that the Secret Service is completely lying about this, is that what they discovered was just a normal criminal enterprise. That normal criminal enterprises leverage banks of thousands of cell phones used to send spam or forward international calls. It could just, but then the Secret Service is using this as a, hey, look at what a good job we did. I don't know.
Wait, the Secret Service has been politicized?
Listen, I know I'm not allowed to do that, but Paul's not here, so maybe I can. I don't know, but
you can dock my pay.
Yeah, yeah, but it certainly does seem to be here. Take a picture of something that's super techie, nerdy. Call it a terrorist attack, and that we thwarted it when it truly may have just been like, yeah, I mean that's what happens in New York City.
I saw this case years ago, and this police officer sent me a picture and said, could you just give us some guidance here? And they had an apartment, and you could see out the window of the apartment the George Washington Bridge. And there was it looked like this picture. There was shelves with all these antennas. There was antennas on the windowsill and all this stuff. And he said, do you think any of this stuff's important? We got like 2 big bags of weed, and we got the guy for weed. Do you think any of this might be? And I was like, wow, you don't think that's important?
Yeah.
But, this guy was obviously grabbing, he was cell scoping people on the George Washington Bridge. But yeah, I mean, I didn't know what they were actually saying was going on here. I mean, they had an awful lot of SIM cards.
When I first read the story, and I think I read the same story that you have, Sam, what they were stating was that there was enough cellular connectivity equipment that they could have impacted the ability to deliver phone calls in a localized area. From what I saw, Sam, I don't know if you.
Yeah, that's it. They thought they could do a DOS attack on the cell network, but what would the point of that be? I didn't really understand why anybody would do this.
Nobody can order a pizza at the UN.
Well, and and those of us that have worked with the government know that we have ways around. When the cellular networks get busy, there's prioritized devices that go right through that.
FirstNet, prioritized devices, all 4.9 instead of there's all kinds of things that happen.
Yeah, when I first saw it, I thought it was some kind of SIM swapping operation or
Me
something.
Me too.
Like
That's
that.
What I just.
But it didn't sound. It sounded more like it was like we're going to try to black out the whole area. They started talking about a 35-mile radius centered on the UN building, which sounded a little strange because I was like, wait, I don't care how many cell phones you got. How do you black out West Newark? From the UN building? That seems a little like much of a push with a little antenna this big.
This seems like it's more like, as the other guy was describing, it's for relaying and other nefarious purposes, not necessarily overloading the cell network. This is for taking advantage of it.
I agree.
Yeah. I guess it could be some naive denial of service attack. Maybe somebody believed they could create a sort of a jamming system out of all these things, but it seems like an awful lot of work.
That would be ridiculously silly. But honestly, it's
nobody's ever accused me of that.
There's so much phone infrastructure in that area.
Mm-hmm.
ILEC switches, CLEC. There's so many switches in that area. It's a great place to transfer calls back and forth.
Probably even some working payphones in that area.
There actually are.
Yeah, so
I'm sure there are.
Yeah, I've heard that payphones are starting to pop back up, and that there's been some cities, I believe that New York, and actually I heard that. So Tom, I heard that Chicago is one of these areas, and that there's some movie or something coming out, and there's some guerrilla marketing, and payphones are starting to pop back up. I think
pop-up payphones.
Now's a great time to hit them with your car. Hit the payphones with your car when they're on the ground. Snatch them up by the cord. Take off.
Hey, don't lose a hand. Yeah, it's like.
Well,
but that's. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
That's right. Yeah, I've got a story that I thought was really the most important one is Apple's memory integrity enforcement. Because when I started teaching exploit development, I thought there's a fundamental flaw where you only have 8 bits to a byte, and we don't store what type of data is being stored, and that's fundamentally what leads to code injection, memory corruption, and all these things. And Apple seems to have completely fixed memory corruption here. What they do is every time they allocate a block of memory, they assign it like a key, an API key. and only the program that allocates it knows that key, and every read and write request must provide the correct key. And if they get any read or write request without the correct key, the program halts.
Done.
So that pretty much ends buffer overflows,
brilliant.
dangling pointers, and a whole class of vulnerabilities.
Many classes
even
of
if
vulnerabilities.
it seems extremely
this
brilliant.
one came across my desk too, Sam, and the reason why it did is I am still on an older iPhone, and I was desperate to find a reason to spend the money. I just want a new one. And give me a reason. And I couldn't find a reason. I couldn't find a reason. Why should I upgrade to the latest one? And this is how I came across it. Apple doesn't even mention this, but the iPhone 17 is the first iPhone that implements this memory protection.
But I think and you got to be on iOS 26.
26.
But that's out.
But it's a
iOS 26 is effectively
hardware.
iOS 19.
Yeah, but it truly is. You have to be on it is a hardware implementation. You have to be on the latest.
Sam, do you think that this maybe has not been an option in the past? Because anytime you start doing these kind of read-write controls, you start creating overhead. And maybe it's just been an issue of performance where, this has always been the problem with any kind of memory controls, is that that's such a high speed operation, and every little thing you add to it. And I'm not criticizing this. I think it's awesome. I'm just saying maybe the reason this hasn't been there is because we just didn't have the horsepower to actually make that viable.
Well, I've suspected as much because I know if you look at the stack cookies in Visual Studio, it only puts them on some routines, not all of them, like the ones that have a long string that might overflow. And that seems really ridiculous. And yet they say it would cost too much performance to even put a stack cookie on every routine. And that's only like 2 assembly language instructions. So I wonder if it's real. Remember before Google switched to HTTPS, they said, it'll cost too much to go from HTTP to HTTPS. And it turned out to only cost 1% more. It's hard for me to believe that
sometimes
really
I think
cost that
people
much.
just but that has always been a kind of boogeyman in coding is anything that, it's just always been that, oh my God, don't touch memory read write because, that's the end of the world. And that's always been a metric. If you're, whatever you're coding, it was always a read write coding metric, and people are afraid of that metric a lot. But I think you're right. It may just be a boogeyman.
I think the security is so
how
important.
fast is fast enough? Oh, sorry, Sam.
Yeah. No, that's all. I think security is such an issue that it would be worth putting up with a performance penalty.
Yeah, and remember with Spectre Meltdown that the main impacts were really in the HPC folks. The rest of us really didn't notice. Well, we did, but it didn't matter. I'm thinking, is the overhead on your brand new sexy phone with the new fastest CPU they've come out with? You don't have a benchmark of it running without that feature. Right, and odds are it's fast enough.
Well, and Lee, you're absolutely right. Like, and odds are it's fast enough. Like when we start taking a look at the latest generation of and I was going to say Apple, chips, but quite honestly, it's everything, right? Like we've reached the point where is anybody really taxing your CPU? Sometimes, but very rarely.
Well, sometimes, I do think sometimes it's just superstition. It is just this, from the dark ages, and we're scared of this because there was a time when that really was a significant effect. And a lot of developers and a lot of other people are scared of it, especially hardware developers and everything else. So, no, I think it's an awesome idea. I wish I'd thought of it. I've thought of it, but I wish I'd implemented it.
Right. Hey, while we're on iPhone security, I just really want to send out my story number 3, the Ultimate iOS Hardening Guide. I was looking through it, and I found something. I found a setting that I was unaware of that I wanted to call out. And this setting, first of all, this is a GitHub repo that kind of walks you through, hey, if you're going to set up an iPhone, you're going to set it up securely, here's how to do it. But the setting that I found that I was unaware of, let me log into my phone here real quick, is under General, and then you go into the Face ID and passcodes. And under there is a setting for stolen device protection that I was unaware of. And if you are, and so maybe I'm just behind the times here, but if you're unaware of this, go into your iPhone and turn it on. So I was watching it was like a It was a documentary on on how people steal iPhones and what they do when they steal it.
Mhm.
And the guy went through and he was like, "Look, from the time I steal your iPhone to from I change your account, I add my own face. It took 12 seconds for him to basically lock you out of the iPhone, so for him to have full access to your iPhone. If you turn this on, it's a really super simple thing. Anything that would lock you out of the iPhone. So that would be like turning off Find My, or adding a face, or adding a new pin, or any of those kind of things. It starts at a 1 hour timer, and those can only be changed an hour from now. And I had no idea that setting was in my phone. I've now fixed all my, my phones, my family phones, and really would suggest that for our listeners as well.
I'll overlay that with, I was actually asked to talk to some people recently and about this kind of thing. And somebody I know very well had their phone snatched out of their hand walking down the street in a major city by a person on a moto, just like I was talking about that money earlier. Yeah. And a guy just swerved over and grabbed the phone of their hand. And of course, they immediately put it on, and they turned off Wi-Fi, and they did all these standard things until they could get it configured so that their face was in it and so forth. And the other piece of this, I completely agree with you. The other piece of this is, it's probably not a bad idea, regardless, to start having a plan for what happens when your phone is stolen. Because we were talking about this the other day. I wouldn't have even been able to get into my hotel room without my phone. And if I didn't have my phone, I didn't have the information I would have needed to generate another key. And I have been places. My daughter and I were walking through the streets of Paris one day, and I goes, if our phones were gone, I don't even know the name of the street we're staying in this apartment on. And I don't know the name of the guy that rented it to us, and I don't have a way to contact them. So you might want to start thinking about, both for enterprise and for individual, what happens when these phones start getting grabbed and disappear? Because they are. I mean, people are going to grab them. I think it's great to turn this setting on, but what happens next? So you're safe. They can't get into your stuff, but now what? I mean, what do you do next? I mean, you're standing in a foreign country and you don't actually have a way to figure out, when you walk up to the Paris police and go, I'm in a building. It's kind of old looking. Right. I think there was something across the street, like another building. And there was maybe a kid or two on the street. Yeah, Can you have any idea where that would be? Like, could you maybe drive us around for a couple hours in Paris and help us see if we could spot the building?
Yeah, I saw a Reddit thread the other day that was like, what are the things that we have right now that are going to disappear? And the things are, that the thread were really interesting, like credit cards. Keys, right? So physical keys to anything, right? But you're absolutely right, and all of that is being moved into our phone. And if our phone gets stolen, now we can't drive. We don't know where we live. We don't know our credit cards. We don't know how to call anyone. All of these things.
So obviously, you should just get a brain implant instead of a phone, and everything will be fine.
Elon brain implants.
Don't steal my brain. Bro.
Actually, what I want to see is I want to see an application that automatically backs up my phone every night, so that the worst thing that happens is I lose a few hours of exactly the same as a backup for your corporate data.
So isn't that like iCloud, right? Isn't that what
iCloud does that to a certain extent, but not really for third-party apps? I want one that totally backs up my phone.
Right. There are limits to what iCloud will back up, but you can actually do some settings to get almost everything.
Right.
But
how are you going to find an Apple store without your phone?
Last one I found in Rome, I just stumbled across it.
I normally have an iPad with me or my MacBook.
Okay, well, some of us carry a whole full suit of armor made out of old iPads that are wrapped around us. But
I mean, there's two things on that setting, Bill. When they first rolled it out a couple years ago, the familiar places, which is where you really should start, didn't work very reliably. It's much better now. I would have it set for my one phone that I was testing on. I was at home, and I was in here in this office, and it would say you're not in a familiar location, and walk across, walk 50 feet away, and I was. They fixed that, which is great. And the other thing is, for right now, I mean, I always carry a low-tech backup. I might be using mobile pay on my phone, but I've still got a credit card on me.
Always.
I still carry a hotel key.
And I guess what I'm just saying is I'm not being a Luddite. I just mean always start thinking about your backup plan. I did business continuity or disaster recovery for a long time, and it's always what's the next step? Because that was always our initial, strategy was walk in and go, okay, the mainframe has been stolen by crazy people that could carry a 5,000-pound device off site. What do you do next? And the CIO goes, I call Bob. And I'm like, call Bob now. And they go, I don't have Bob's numbers. Sydney, do you have Bob's number? And they're like, Bob retired 6 years ago, dude.
Right.
And they're like, well, okay, who replaced Bob? I think it was that girl, Kelly, that we hired, but she quit. And then she was replaced by that other guy, Mitch. But I think he's crazy and doesn't answer his phone except at night. And, and they don't really know what to do. And I'm like, wait till this happens to you and you don't have a Bob even to start with. You're just standing there going, because literally the hotels, like the hotels in Las Vegas, have switched all the room keys to this. I know on my campus, they've just switched everything to you have to use your phone. Your ID no longer works. I wasn't even sure I could get out of my classroom if I didn't have my phone because the door is locked. And
I mean,
it's getting
for me
scary.
Traveling, I travel with my wife, so we both have the information in our phones.
Yep.
So if you're traveling with a buddy, have redundancy that way.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
and I know I'm cherry picking answers because you're absolutely right, Doug. We could get totally lost by technology, and that's actually the term I use. What's your low tech backup is something my wife learned in her master's degree in computer science. Is that was their mantra. What's your low tech backup?
Crutch.
Partly because it's
Well, I'll just change it to what's your plan because I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. But I'm like, also, what's your plan? I mean, my phone is gone. So I've got not only the issue of are they getting into my phone and getting all my stuff, but how do I get a new phone? How do I restore? And what's my low-tech backup is certainly part of that plan. So what am I going to do next? Do I have a credit card stashed in my backpack? Do I have, cash stashed in my backpack? Because I can't even pay for, a pack of gum if I don't have, my Apple Pay phone and then this is worse now with people say younger than Lee and I. By a little bit, who can't quite conceptualize, cash. What is that? And I think we're getting to a point where many of us won't have that low tech backup as a backup plan.
Hell no. If you don't, let me. Sorry, I went through Hurricane Katrina. I've been through multiple disasters. I literally was there when they figured out why generators at cell phone towers was a good idea. Okay, I've been there this long. If you do not have cash, you do not get fed. You must have cash for a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that's definitely a generational thing. I mean, I don't disagree with you, but it's a tougher sell to people, say, under the age of 25 who are going, cash, where do you even get that? It's like, what does it look like? And how do I deal with it? But I think all these are really good problems. Unfortunately, I think we've run out of time. I knew I probably put up too many stories because I knew all of us would talk for a long while. And unfortunately, we've run out of time on Pulse Security Weekly. But thanks, everyone, for allowing me to host Pulse Security Weekly again. Thanks to Lee, Josh, Sam, and that other guy for helping me keep everything on track. And I hope that we'll all see you next time on Pulse Security Weekly and also on the Security Weekly News. Don't forget that. I have to plug it. Okay? Come on, really. Bye.
Over.